Hey, and welcome back to another video. So in this video, I'll be giving you 3 tips that I feel are good ways of keeping your iPhone's battery healthy for a longer period of time throughout its use lifetime. These 3 things that I'm going to tell you are based on my personal experience, and I'll be showing you what I base them off of in a bit. And I hope these 3 things also help you with extending or prolonging the life of your iPhone's battery health. This also applies to Android, obviously, but the specifics are going to be different because you'll have to get separate apps on how to check your battery's health and etc. etc. But it's generally the same for most Android devices as well. But I'll be covering this for iPhones only in this video. So let's jump right in. But before we jump right in, don't forget to hit that like button and check out my channel. And if you like what you see, please consider hitting that subscribe button, as it helps me out a lot. Also hit that bell notification button to get notified whenever I upload a new video. I'm on Instagram, Discord, and Twitter, and you can follow me on those using the links down in the description below. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is these 2 phones. This is an iPhone 12 Pro Max. This is an iPhone 11. I bought them around the same time of the same, just after the release dates, the same time of year. This obviously last year in 2020. Well, I obviously bought it in 2019. 2019 November, and this one I bought it in 2020 November. And these phones, I used them for roughly the same amount of time until January, and I noticed something. So this phone, the 12 Pro Max, is still at a battery health capacity of maximum health of 100%, while this is at 91%. Obviously, this one is a year old. But at the time, in January of 2020, when I had a look at this thing's battery health, it had dropped to 98%. Now, I know there are differences in battery technology and all, but it's not too great of a difference to discuss it, because I don't think the lithium-ion battery technology has improved drastically over just a course of 1 year between the two. And the battery size is also relative. The battery capacity is also relative to how much you use it. So I noticed, like, why is this one still 100%, and me being a very consistent user with consistent screen times and all, why is that 100% while this was 98% back in 2020 January? I want to talk to you about the things that I did differently. Well, 2 things that I did differently, and 1 thing that I think that everyone should be following. So let's jump right into point 1. Point 1 is what you could do to keep your battery health obviously closer to 100% as long as you can, is using a slow charger. Now, what I have here are 2 chargers. This is the 20-watt fast charger for the iPhone 12 Pro Max. This is a 10-watt charger. These chargers, obviously, I don't need to explain, they charge at different speeds. What I did with the 12 that I didn't do with the 11 was, wherever possible, if I'm not in a hurry, I always charge the 12 with a 10-watt slow charger. I did not always use the 20-watt. I only use the 20-watt when I'm in a hurry. But in terms of when I used the iPhone 11, I did use a fast charger, the 18-watt. I used the 18-watt with the iPhone 11, so I fast charged it whenever I can. And I believe that when you use a fast charger, obviously there's going to be a negative impact on the phone. There's always going to be that when you rapidly charge a phone. So fast charging is also proportional to heat. The faster you charge a phone, the more heat it generates. And heat and batteries don't mix. The hotter the battery gets, the more damaged it gets. So when you're charging the battery at a slower speed, it's good for the battery. That's one thing that I noticed. The difference that I did between these 2 phones is, with the 12, I used the slow charger wherever possible, but with the 11, I always used a fast charger. So charge your phone slowly with a slower watt charger or a lower watt charger whenever you can and whenever you're not in a hurry. Also, wireless chargers. Wireless charging pads generate a lot of heat. And I'm saying a lot of heat. So, like I said earlier, heat equals weaker battery over time. Don't overheat your battery. Don't overheat your phone as well. That's not good for the phone either. So wireless charging pads create a lot of heat. And I use this on a wireless charger a lot. But I've used this even less on a wireless charger. I barely ever use my Apple MagSafe charger or the Anker PowerWave stand charger. But on this phone, I almost always, either used it on a fast charger or directly used it with a wireless charger, which generated more heat. So what I'm saying here is use a slow charger when you can and avoid wireless chargers when you can, because that's going to help you prolong the life of your battery. Alrighty, so the next thing that I want to discuss is optimized battery charging and why you should not charge your iPhone above 80% all the time, and why you should not let it drop to 0% as well. So now if you go into the battery health section of your iPhone, you'll find out this thing called optimized battery charging, and why this thing should always be kept on. I have it on both phones. Now it says down here, to reduce battery aging, iPhone learns from your daily charging routine so that it can wait to finish charging past 80% until you need it. So if you're very predictable, the phone will use AI and kind of learn your charging routine, your charging patterns, to keep the battery charged below 80% if you're that person that always rips it out of the charger when it's not done charging. The phone does this so that it stays until 80%, because when you charge a phone from, let's say, 20% is a point where everyone plugs their phone, an average, a good average for, and it's a value that I came up with by asking all of my friends and co-workers and etc. etc. I asked them, at what point roughly do you plug your phone in? And the average I got is like 20.5%, so 20%. So on average, people plug their phone into the charger at 20% battery. So 20% to 80% is not considered a full cycle. Now what a full cycle means is a battery cycle. Every battery has a number of lifetime cycles. There are apps, it will not show you on the battery app here, but there are many apps that can show you the charging cycles of your iPhone. Your average lithium-ion battery has about 800 to 1000 charging cycles or more, depending on the battery. And once the charging cycles are up, the battery drops below like 70% and it degrades quite heavily and has to be replaced. When you charge from, let's say, 20 to 80%, you're not counting a full cycle. A full cycle is like 20 to 100%. Each time you hit 100%, you're counting a single full cycle. So that full cycle then gets added to the total number of cycles and it reduces the lifetime of your battery. So when you charge from 20 to 80%, you're adding an extra 20% reserve to your total lifetime cycle. So wherever possible, if you can charge from your whatever 20 or 15 or wherever, 20 or 15, like I said, 20 to 80%, if you can keep the charge within that and take the charger out at like 80%, you're somewhat prolonging your battery life. And I'm pretty sure that 20% is not going to affect you throughout the day. Sure, maybe if you're a really busy person and you need 100%, I get it, you have to do it. But this is just one thing that I also did with this phone when compared to this phone. With the iPhone 11, I always charged it to 100%, but the iPhone 12, I either let the software leave it at 80%, because it obviously recognized my charging cycles, or I myself pulled it out at 80%, and it has helped this phone's battery last longer than this. Like I said earlier, this is at 100% at 2 months. At 2 months old, and this was at 98% at 2 months old, and I am, like I said, a very consistent user with very consistent screen times. So don't charge your phone always to 100%. Try and keep it at 80% and keep optimized battery charging turned on so the phone can learn from your charging cycles. Okay, so the final point that I'd like to discuss is obviously not relevant to these two phones, but it's relevant to me and something that I've been doing for a long time and what everyone should be doing, honestly. It's using reputable chargers. It's pretty simple. Don't go to your local gas station and buy the cheapest, crappiest charger you can find if your original charger breaks. Now, you may break your charger by dropping it. very rarely iPhone chargers have faults. I've never come across an iPhone charger that has ever had a fault, and I've never heard of an iPhone charger that's had a fault, but I'm pretty sure it has happened to some people. And this also applies to other brands as well. But in general, Apple's chargers are really high quality. Also, if you lose your charger or something like that, please do not go and buy cheap unbranded junk off eBay or your gas station or something. I know there are a lot of people that just don't care. They'll buy the cheapest charger, your average $10 crappy charger, which includes like another crappy cable which has no surge protection, nothing, and they'll charge their phone for a couple of months, but over time the phone is going to get overheated. There'll be heavy voltage fluctuations. It's not protected against surges, and these chargers will eventually ruin your phone. And eventually the main blame goes to the manufacturer of the phone, because these people really don't use their heads to begin with. They're gonna go ahead. I'm not saying that everyone does this, by the way. I know a lot of people will agree that the fact that they used a knockoff charger is why their phone broke, but there are a group of certain people that will always go that extra length to blame the manufacturer of the phone, whether it be Apple, Samsung, whatever. They'll blame the manufacturer of the phone, saying, "Oh, you made crappy technology." No, they did not make crappy technology. You used a crappy charger. Because I've heard that story many times, and I always have to educate these people. It's like, it's your fault. You used a crappy charger. So something that I've been using, what I've been doing for a long time, is always using original or branded, any brand, any reputable brand, chargers and cables. Now here's a great example. I think you've seen this charger many times on my channel. This charger is 8 years old. It's a Sony charger that came with my Xperia Tipo. That phone you have not seen on this channel. I will feature it someday when I get my hands on it again, because it's back at home, not here with me in college. I bought that phone in 2012. So this charger is 8 years old, and it's still going strong. It charges every single Android phone that I have featured on this channel. All my Android phones are charged using this, as well as my Apple Watch, or as well as my iPhone, doesn't matter. But mainly I use it to charge Android phones. As long as it's a branded charger, Sony, JBL, Apple, I use the word JBL because I do have a JBL. I have a bunch of JBL micro USB cables, like this one. You've seen this one before. This is a JBL micro USB cable. Sony, Samsung, whatever. As long as it's a reputable brand, go ahead and buy it, because you're putting your phone at risk of a lack of surge protection, overheating, power fluctuation, and many more other hidden dangers when you use a cheap charger. I've been safe throughout the entirety of my years of using phones and iPods and whatever. Was that 20 years? I don't know when I got my first electronic device, but I've been safe because I've been using either the original charger or a reputable branded charger. There are so many brands that are cheap, and you don't like I said, if you break your or lose your Apple charger, you don't have to get the original Apple charger. You can go and buy a third-party reputable company like Belkin, Anker. There are so many. Or you could just go get a Sony or a Samsung charger, which are obviously cheaper than Apple's chargers, and you're gonna be just fine. Just don't buy knockoff brand chargers. So that's my final point, and it's kind of an obvious point, and most people would have known this by now, but I made it a point just to say it out again, because there are a few people that still don't obey this. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I hope it helped you with understanding the battery of your iPhone or any phone in general better. And yeah, I guess that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, thumbs up, and I hope to see you guys in my next video.